Many laws around the world require organizations to secure data like personally identifiable information. And failure to secure data can lead to legal liability. But from the point of view of a lot of organizations that have personal information, they're concerned that they'll never be perfectly secure. And so they're concerned about how is it that I manage my legal liability. A leading law in this area is the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe. And a leading case under GDPR is the British Airways case. So we learn a lot from the British Airways case about how to manage legal liability in an environment where it's impossible to be perfectly secure. But because GDPR is influential all over the world, and because this British Airways case is such a big case, we all over the world learn a lot from the British Airways case. So British Airways is a large organization. It takes credit cards all over the world. And it had a credit card breach. So a large number of credit cards were compromised. The Data Protection Authority in the UK, which is the Information Commissioner's Office, opened an investigation. And the Information Commissioner's Office initially said, you're really bad. You should have a fine of $230 million. Wow, that's a lot of punishment, a lot of legal liability for a credit card breach. However, under GDPR, British Airways was able to force the regulator to go through a very detailed analysis of not just the bad things that British Airways had done, but also the good things. So in effect, if British Airways had taken some good steps, it would get some good check marks that would reduce its liability. So the regulator came back with a 114-page detailed report analyzing everything related to this breach. And the regulator had to give a lot of good check marks, a lot of credit to British Airways for doing a lot of good things. And so the regulator acknowledged, British Airways, you have a very sophisticated and large cybersecurity team. In effect, what I like to call professional teamwork. You get a lot of credit for that. And thus, for each time that the regulator identified in its report that British Airways had done something correct, the fine goes down. So the fine is starting to go down. So then the regulator said, British Airways, you've had a big team working on general compliance with GDPR for years. We've got to give you a lot of credit for that. That's what we want you to do. You did it. Therefore, the fine is coming down. Then the regulator said, you minimized data. You were very careful to only collect the credit card data that was necessary, only store the data that was necessary, and then get rid of the data relatively quickly. So when the hackers got to the data, they weren't able to get to as much as otherwise would be the case. That's good, says the regulator. You're doing the kinds of things that we want you to do. Good check mark. So through this entire analysis of 114 pages, the regulator said, well, you made a mistake on a certain server. You should have hardened that server a better way. Okay, so the regulator stuck to its guns with respect to that server, and the regulator finally comes out and says, instead of a $230 million fine, we're reducing the fine down to $23 million. So a 90% decrease in the fine. Why? Because British Airways was able to document, we're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. But we at British Airways were doing a lot of the good steps to try to protect data as the law expects of us, and therefore the punishment on us should be relatively mild. So this case gives us guidance all over the world on what steps organizations can be doing to not be in perfect compliance. You'll never be perfectly secure, but to still build the argument that if I am actually hacked, my fine is lower and the penalties on me should be less severe. I teach a 5-day course at the SANS Institute. The name of that course is Legal 523, The Law of Data Security and Investigations. You can learn more about that at sans.org. You can also learn more about me and my practice of law at benjaminwright.us. Here in this video, I've given some ideas that can help to address legal compliance or legal risk. Obviously, through this video, I'm not your lawyer, and if you need legal advice, you need to go hire a lawyer to give you specific legal advice. This video is only for public education.